Hey, what's up, guys? Dylan Johnson from Soccer Mag here, and I know I've been away for a while, but I'm back and ready to get back into the 2025-26 Premier League season. We are in game week 5 at the moment. It has been a while. I've missed pretty much 4 of the game weeks or 3 of the game weeks, but we're starting off with a banger, Liverpool versus Everton, and there's a lot to talk about from Liverpool's perspective. I mean, this is the first time I'm going to be talking about it to you guys, so the first 4 games, or including the Champions League last night, 5 games, you can't. There's obviously Liverpool haven't been at 100%, but I think 12 points from 12, considering the games, the opposition, the context they're in. Very few complaints from my side. First game against Bournemouth. Bournemouth are one of the best teams in the Premier League at putting other teams under pressure. Very little space to operate in midfield. I think Liverpool dealt with that very well. I mean, to score 4 goals against them is already good. And with the amount of new players that started that game, I thought it was a really good performance. Second week, Newcastle, again, all of the context around that. St. James's Park is already one of the most difficult places to go in the Premier League. And then with the whole Isak situation, with, having new signings, with the passion and the atmosphere at that game, again, Liverpool got it done. Then Arsenal third. I mean, Arsenal at home or away is a difficult game. Their record against the top 6 shows that already. To get the win there is massive. I think Liverpool haven't beaten them in a couple of years in the Premier League. And then last week, Burnley versus Liverpool at Turf Moor. That game was absolutely ridiculous. How I don't think I've seen a team sit as deep as Burnley have consistently. I think I saw a stat where there was one passage of play where it was Liverpool had the ball for, I think it was 15 minutes. It was 15 minutes consecutively where Burnley were basically in their box, just defending Liverpool. That's ridiculous. I don't think there's many teams that are capable of doing that so well, like Burnley, but also I don't think there's many teams that can break that down very well. I think it was the first game Burnley have lost at home in 18 months, I think the stat was, and I think their defense last season was the best in the Championship comfortably. I think they only conceded, I think it was 16 goals in the whole season. So Burnley are a ridiculous team when it comes to doing that. It's almost like watching Sean Dyche or Burnley of old that we are used to. Incredibly disciplined, no space at all. I mean, Lyle Foster, their most forward player, is in their box defending in open play. We're not even talking about set pieces. So Liverpool got through that, and that's all that matters. It was... People are saying Liverpool are lucky, and to some extent, there is some luck involved in it, but also luck is a deflection goal, or luck is a defender making a massive error, passing back to the keeper, and you intercept it. There is elements of luck to the penalty, but Liverpool had 27 shots at goal. They should have been more effective, but again, the way Burnley defended, there's so many people in front of the goal that it's very difficult to not get a deflection and go for a corner. I think Liverpool had 12, 13, 14, maybe even 15 corners. So there was just a ridiculous amount of pressure, and yeah, Liverpool, you could say Burnley were hard done by, but Liverpool deserved to win, I think. Then Atletico Madrid, last time in the Champions League. I know it's the Premier League, but I'll talk about it anyway. That's the best I think we've seen Liverpool's attack this season when it comes to just the link-up play, the positioning, just the potency on the counter-attack. I think the past couple, pretty much, besides the Bournemouth game where Bournemouth really had a go, Newcastle are one of those teams where they're comfortable at, sitting deep, absorbing pressure. Arsenal as well, they were comfortable to absorb pressure and then go when they had the ball. Burnley, a complete different game. That was ridiculous. Atletico Madrid as well. So it's 4 games in a row, and it's about to be 5 with Everton, where there are teams that are comfortable to, let the opposition have the ball to a certain extent and just absorb pressure, force you to find answers. And that's very difficult to do, especially against the quality of teams. Burnley at home, like I said, their record speaks for themselves. Yes, they're newly promoted. Yes, when they are playing away from home, they're not as good. But they're ridiculous at home and absorbing that pressure and forcing you to play the game. And Everton is going to be Everton's going to be the same 100%. Let's have no doubts about it. But Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, that was the best we've seen Liverpool attack this season. Maybe they didn't score as many goals as they did against Bournemouth, but I think overall the speed at which they constructed attacks was the best we've seen. The link-up play, Florian Wirtz's been getting a lot of stick for his lack of goals and assists. I mean, you can see, if you're watching Liverpool play, you can see every game he's getting better and more comfortable. His fitness and his strength on the ball is improving. The relationships he's building with the players around him, I think, even against Burnley, which was, I think, up until the Atletico Madrid game, probably his best performance for Liverpool. The passes he's trying to find, the space he's occupying, the runs he's making, you can see that they're not all on the same page, that he's trying to thread through a pass, but a player's not reading it, or he's standing in wanting a pass to break the lines, but Gravenberch is not finding him or not even looking for the pass. I think against Atletico Madrid, that was the best all-round attacking performance from him, where the linking between Salah and Isak and Ekitike and Gakpo, when they were all playing together, really was coming off, and Liverpool should have scored way more goals than they did last night. I think Atletico are obviously a tough team, but Liverpool should have put that game away early. It should never have gone to 2-2. It should have been 4-2, 5-2 before, or 3-1, 4-1 before Atletico got that equalizer. And then speaking on Isak, I thought that first hour was ridiculous from him. I think the fact that he hasn't had a preseason, he's playing with a brand new team. He's had probably 1 week of team training. I think he slotted in really well. His movement was good. You could see that he lacks fitness at times. It looked a bit like labored. You could see he was a bit fatigued or didn't know exactly when to press or when to make a run or where to stand. And you could see sometimes there wasn't that relationship with he would occupy space and Gakpo would try past him or wouldn't pass him, and then the ball go out or something like that. But I think first appearance, there were so many promising things there. His link up with Wirtz was crazy, considering they've never played together. I thought that was really good, and it was a really promising first 45 minutes to an hour from Isak. I don't think he's going to play this weekend. I think that what Slot said is that he's basically doing preseason now, and maybe he would be on the bench, but I wouldn't be surprised if he isn't picked at all. He's just recovering this week, because the first game, 60 minutes against Atletico Madrid, that is physically and emotionally demanding. Going into it, to start now, that was a bit of a build-up. Everton versus Liverpool. Everton, we know what a Merseyside derby's like. We know what they're going to do. They're just going to go there to disrupt. They don't need to play. They're just going to go there to get under Liverpool's skin. They're going to put in some big hits. There's going to be bookings. All they're going to try to do is make sure that Liverpool don't win. And whether they win, that's a bonus. If they draw, they're happy. They just want to make sure that Liverpool do not win the game. So I wouldn't expect a 4-0, 5-0, 3-0. I don't think Liverpool are going to score massive goals this weekend. Even if they do, I could see them conceding. Also, the fact that they've played on a Wednesday night and they're playing in the first game of the Premier League weekend. I think it's 12:30 UK time, 1 South African time. Very little time to recover, and the whole starting 11 played against Atletico Madrid last night. So there's going to be fatigue. Players are going to need to recover. I would not expect Liverpool to come out the blocks and blow Everton away 4-0 here. I think Everton as well, we saw last season, when they want to, they are difficult to break down. And this season they have started well. Their record isn't bad. I think besides their loss against Leeds in the first game week, they've had a solid start to the season. They look promising. They've got some attacking players. They're well structured. It's a Merseyside derby. I don't think there's much to say other than that. I think we all know what that means. The tensions are going to be high. Anfield's going to be roaring. But I'm going to maybe I'm thinking like a 1-goal margin. I don't know I don't think this will be a late winner again. I don't know. If it is, as long as it's a winner, it's fine for Liverpool. Maybe a 2-1 or a 1-0 Liverpool. I could see Liverpool taking this one. But again, another team that doesn't need to play. And I think Liverpool's start to the season has been difficult because the opponents have all been perfectly willing or happy to sit back and force you to break them down. So it's a massive test. Yeah, 1 goal margin, 1-0, 2-1 Liverpool. Next up, we have Brighton versus Spurs. And this is an interesting one because Brighton have obviously beaten City, so have Spurs. But Spurs have improved. There's a considerable and noticeable improvement from Spurs since Thomas Frank has taken over. The team just looks more it looks more well balanced. They are a threat going forward, but defensively, I think, to be honest, last season we knew that Romero, Van de Ven, the backline that Spurs have is not bad. They were just out for large portions of the season. But this is going to be an interesting one. I can't really. Brighton at home always against the top 6 teams cause serious problems. But I think I might just give this one to Spurs just because I think Spurs are going to win. There's no other deeper logic than that. I do think it'll be tough. Maybe again, I'm thinking maybe a 1-goal margin, like a 2-1 to Spurs, but I could easily see Brighton taking it. So yeah, I think that's a tough one. That's probably one of the hardest to predict this weekend, but it's going to be a good game regardless. Next up, we have Burnley versus Forest. Burnley at home. I wouldn't expect them to play the same way they did against Liverpool. I think they know that Forest is vulnerable. Forest are conceding goals. New manager, they're trying to work out a new system. New players as well. So the cohesion they had last year is kind of pretty much completely gone. Despite keeping Morgan Gibbs-White and some of their other key players, there's just less continuity there. And just trying to change. He said that, the players all know the system by now. I think last week or the week before. I think it was last week. But let's be real. He is such a demanding way of playing. A very specific way of playing. And even if they do play like that against Burnley, like I mentioned earlier, Burnley don't mind. They have no problem with sitting back, absorbing pressure and countering you. I think Burnley might take this one. I think at home they are really strong. Like I said, they've only lost 1 game at home in 18 months, and that was to Liverpool. So I'm going to give Burnley maybe a 1-1 draw or 1-0 win. I just don't think Forest's defence is good enough at the moment, especially their away from home form is bad. Burnley's home form is good. Burnley don't concede goals at home. If they do, it's to the elite teams of the Premier League and not very many. So I'm going to give Burnley this one 1-0. Again, Forest not looking good at the moment. We have West Ham versus Palace next, and Palace are one of the only, I think it's Chelsea, Palace and Liverpool, the only unbeaten teams in the Premier League so far. I know that it's impressive considering some of the teams they've played already this season. And I think Palace are looking really solid. They are also taking chances. They are scoring goals consistently. They may not be winning games every week, but they are very difficult to beat. Whereas West Ham have started the season terribly. They've made a little bit of a turn for the better, but there is that soft underbelly I think that West Ham have that I think Palace can take advantage of. So I'm going to give Palace again a 1-goal margin. I don't see this could be one of those games where there's lots of goals, just because I think of the volatility of West Ham, where either they are scoring 3 goals or they're conceding 3 goals. But I think Palace are more controlled. They are very well coached by Oliver Glasner. They don't concede many opportunities, and they do take chances pretty well. So I'm going to give Palace a 2-0 win. I know it's away from home, but I think Palace they are more organised and they are better. They're just a more consistent team. Then we have Wolves versus Leeds, and Wolves stuck on the bottom of the table. It's been a terrible start for them. I know they lost the first game against City 4-0, but there were times in that game where you're looking at them, you're like, okay, they are playing Man City. Man City are playing really well. There are some positives here, but I think it's not looking good for them. They need to win this game. They have to beat Leeds. It's looking really, really bad for them. There aren't many redeeming factors as well, where they're not scoring a lot of goals, but they are conceding a lot of goals. So Leeds could do damage here. I think Leeds have been better. I know if we look at the table, it's not very, not many. I mean, it's 4 points that separates them, but it's only 4 games in. But Leeds, I think a draw here is good for Leeds. West Ham, non-negotiable, must win. I'm edging on a draw, though. I'm going to go for maybe a 2-2 draw. But again, Wolves desperately need to get on the board in some way. After that, we have Chelsea versus Man United. Second biggest game of the weekend. Man United, there's been a lot of talk about them, and it's easy to talk about them. They are an absolute mess in every way. The new signings are not hitting the ground running. The players they have are not playing well. The system is clearly exposed. It's bringing out the flaws in a lot of the players that they have's game. It's not getting the best out of them. And, Amorim has been coaching them it's been I think probably close to a year. And the improvements, I think after the Arsenal game, everyone's like, yes, there's a massive improvement here. You can see it, but they have regressed massively since that game. Back to what we saw last season. And the thing is with United at Old Trafford, they do get up for these games. They are as bad as they are. In every other game, they'll play Chelsea at Old Trafford and they could sneak a win. They beat Man City last season. They were unlucky to not at least get a point against Arsenal. So it's difficult to judge Man United in these games. But in theory, they're going to get absolutely blown away by Chelsea. Chelsea are way better. They are also, like I said, one of the 3 unbeaten teams in the Premier League. They don't concede many goals. They can score goals. Their team is better. Man for man, their team is way better. I'm going to give Chelsea a 2-1 win here. But I wouldn't be surprised if United nick something. That's just what they do. And everything will go back to normal. Everyone will be happy until they lose the next week against whoever they play. I'm not going to get into should Amorim be sacked, do all of this or do all of that. We speak about it every year with a different person. I think that the problems are so structurally ingrained into the whole of Manchester United that it doesn't matter who you put in charge. It doesn't matter if you replace every single player. There's just something fundamentally wrong there. They've tried so many different things. It's just a complete mess. Moving on, we have Fulham versus Brentford, London derby. I think I back Fulham for this one. They're at home. Brentford, not doing great, but also not doing bad. It's pretty even. They both pretty much, Brentford lost some key players. Fulham didn't really actually. They weren't that active in the markets. I'm just going to give Fulham this a 2-1 home win. I think that's pretty much. I think they 1 or 2 points away from each other in the table. Pretty similar results, similar stats. Not much other to say than that. I think just going to give it to Fulham purely because they're the home side. Then we have Bournemouth versus Newcastle. These are the Sunday matches, and that's a great game. Bournemouth, again, where they ended last season, they've started this season. Very difficult to play against. Probably one of the most difficult teams to play against in the Premier League. And the pressure that they put attackers under or midfielders under, there's no space. There's very little time on the ball. They have a lot of energy. They have a lot of power. They have a lot of speed on the counter-attack. So they are incredibly difficult to play against. And they can make the best team in the Premier League struggle to the last minute like they did with Liverpool. Or, they beat Arsenal last season. They are one of the teams in the Premier League that they literally can beat anyone on any day. And even when you beat them, it's no walkover. You have to fight to the last minute. And Newcastle, who now that the dust has settled, they've got Voltemada. I know this is injured, but they can actually kick on with their season now. And I think they did that last week. It's going to be an interesting game because it's 2 very exciting, powerful, athletic, passionate teams. And I don't know which. It's a difficult one. I think there's not much to separate them. I might just, when in doubt, stick with the home team. But I think I'm going to go for maybe a 2-2 draw. Purely because I I think they're both very equally matched. I think they both have weapons to hurt the other team. I think they're both structurally solid. So I'm just going to go for 2 to draw and hope for the best. Second last game of the weekend, we have Sunderland versus Aston Villa. Aston Villa yet to score in the Premier League, yet to win in the Premier League. I mean, it makes sense they haven't scored. How are they going to win? Whereas Sunderland have been a bit of a surprise package in the form of like the results that they've had. And they are at home. Stadium of Light is one of the most difficult grounds to go to historically. When they were last in the Premier League, it's where they get. I mean, it's where they get all their points when they've been in the Premier League. And on paper, you should say Aston. If this was Aston Villa last season, you said they blowed them away. But I'm not so sure about that. I think Sunderland have recruited very well. They've got the emotion behind them. Aston Villa are down right now. I'm pretty sure in midweek, it could have been yesterday or the day before, they lost again. I think it was to Brentford. So they are right down at the bottom, where Sunderland are. They're probably ahead of where they're expected to be at this point. They've got points on the board. If I check at the table, yeah, Sunderland are currently 7th with 7 points after 4 games. If you had told any Sunderland fan that at the start of the season, they would have said, nope, that's not possible. So I think Sunderland are going to, it's difficult to say if they're going to take it, because I think I have the image of Aston Villa from the past couple seasons where they are a massive threat. They've got goal scorers, but they aren't scoring goals. They're conceding goals. Sunderland are in much better form. Yeah, so I think I'm going to give this to Sunderland. Another 1-goal margin. I think this is going to be my theme. I'm very indecisive, but I'm going to go Sunderland 1-0, 1-0 win, maybe a 2-1 win. Villa get their first goal of the season. Then, finally, to end it off, we have the big boy. We have Arsenal versus Manchester City at the Emirates. And this is a very exciting game, even as a Liverpool fan, because someone's dropping points. So I'm happy either way. But it's interesting to see how... I think Arsenal at the Emirates, Man City are the most vulnerable they've been in a while. All the criticism that Arteta got for the way he set up at Liverpool, which, whether you think it's harsh or whatever, I'm not talking about that now, but he's going to go for it. I think he's going to go for it this weekend. He's going to send a message. Arsenal have been scoring goals. Interestingly, Liverpool and Arsenal have scored the same amount of goals this season, but you wouldn't say that because Liverpool are sneaking it, but Arsenal have scored the exact same amount of goals. I think their defense has just been better. I think by 1 goal. I think their goal difference is 1 better than Liverpool's, which also, interestingly, you wouldn't expect. It doesn't seem like that when you're watching the games. But Man City, away from home, at home they lost to Spurs, and I'm pretty sure they lost to, they can't remember if it was at home or not, to Brighton. They've already lost 2 games. I know they just blew away Man United, but let's be real. Man United currently are at the lowest. They're at rock bottom. And I don't think, Man City at 80% is going to destroy Man United. Man City at 60% is going to destroy Man United. So I wouldn't use the Man United game as a justification to say, oh, Man City are now back at their peak. They've already shown twice this season that when, they are vulnerable. And I think Arsenal are way too good. They have too many attacking threats. Defensively, they are ridiculously solid. There's no reason for them to go into this game and not try and put 3 on Man City to then say, okay, we lost against Liverpool unluckily, or, whatever. But Man City are out of this. They're out of the title race. It's between 2 teams. Simple as. The question is, will Arteta do that? I genuinely think I think he will. I would like him to. But you never know. You never know. Maybe he's worried that Haaland, or if he's too open, Man City will destroy them or score an easy goal or 1 or 2 goals. Maybe he'll again, play the Rice, Zubimendi, Mikel Merino, and then target the set piece. Just, not concede until a certain point, then bring on Eze. Nah, you're at home, you're at the Emirates. Surely just go out guns blazing. Go to destroy Man City. Send a message saying, yes, we lost to Liverpool, but, we are proper title contenders. I mean, I don't want Arsenal to win. I'm just saying I think it would be a good message for them to do that. And I think they definitely can. I think Arsenal's squad is more balanced. It is better than Man City's. And obviously, Haaland is insane. Ruben Diaz is great. You know, Donnarumma is really good. They have great players. But I think overall as a squad, Arsenal's is more well-balanced. It is better, I think, overall. And I think that they could really hurt Man City this weekend if they wanted to. But the question is, will they want to? I'm sure they will. I think a lot of the discourse after the Liverpool game has probably shifted the way they would approach this game. If they drew to Liverpool or even beat Liverpool, I think they would do the exact same thing against Man City. But I think the fact they lost to Liverpool and the criticism they've gotten, I think they'll go 100% for this game. But yeah, I think obviously I would love a draw for my own personal selfish reasons. But I think Arsenal, like the reasons I've mentioned, will win this game. I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet. I just think, again, Haaland is too strong. His form is too good, but I also think the players around. If Foden is in form, if Man City can get some sort of control of the game, they will score a goal. I think they have the attack to do that. But Arsenal, for me, are favourites for this. I think 2-1, maybe even a 1-0 to Arsenal, or 2-1 to Arsenal. My favourite scoreline. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'm back, and I'll be back again next week. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, etc. And yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.